So for a long time, I've thought about the concept of scale. I've been a big strategist, played a lot of games, a lot of real-time strategy games, a lot of planning in real life for events that I want more impact to happen, a lot of hypothetical situations in which I measured the impact of certain decisions by either governments or individuals or companies. But scale is a very important concept in my opinion, because it goes to show how much of an effect a certain philosophy is going to have. So if you don't think about scale very often, imagine our universe compared to our world, compared to a galaxy. There's essentially, on the Earth, on the planet, the entire universe looks like the Earth, right? Our conception is based off us being on the ground. As soon as we go to space, we start realizing Earth is pretty small. And then we look at some graphics that have been made for us and we realize that, well, we're really small compared to the universe. The Earth is really small compared to the galaxy. Scale gives us a chance to humble ourselves, but also to think about how important the larger picture actually is in our own lives. I've used scale as a way to fight against depression in my life. I've used scale as a way to rationalize mistakes and failures. I've used scale as a way to add value to my words, my decisions that I've made. And the reason I want to discuss scale with you today in terms of emotional intelligence, I think many of us want to make the world different, better. Many of us know that we have the talent, the thought process, the team to actually instill genuine change. The issue is that most of us don't realize how important scale is when it comes to achieving our goals. So I said to a couple of my mentors, I said, I want to change the world. And these are some older guys and some, just a variety of people that are older than me. And some of them said to me, which was always fun, they said, well, me doing this little thing right here, it makes me feel like I'm changing the world. And that's really important, because that person, those people can go to sleep at night thinking to themselves that what they're doing is genuinely satisfying to them. That they're actually there, they're mindful of that moment and approaching it with a sense of gratitude, right? To be able to actually impart some sort of lasting change in people's lives or in a system. It's tremendous. You know, it reminds me of people going abroad for mission trips or helping out flood disaster survivors, or UNICEF, or any of the charity organizations that you imagine, and all of the foot soldiers, literally the people carrying the supplies, the people delivering the necessary human compassion, that human element to the people that are struggling, or the systems, or the ecosystems that are struggling. These people, in my opinion, when it comes to scale, are the forefront. They are essentially the tiniest aspect of the entire system. And now, many of you might be saying to yourself, well, okay, I assume, Tarab, you're going to go somewhere else with this. And I am. And I want to preface this by saying that this philosophy is something that most people will have a hard time tackling. So what I'm about to say essentially diminishes the importance, to a degree, of that foot soldier. And the reason that I say this is because I want to impart the reality that in order for that foot soldier to get to their location, in order for them to have the resources to actually help the system that they're trying to help, they need to have a much stronger, sustainable, efficient system that is brought together by larger thought processes. Meaning there needs to be someone that funds the organization, that allows these people to go forward. There needs to be suppliers and transportation for getting these supplies to those people. And in some aspects, I argue that that individual that's providing care is not necessarily as important as the individual that made the system to allow all the supplies to get to where they need to get to. I said it. I'm sorry. But not really. Because the reality is, if you want to make a big enough change in the world, we need to think about the concept of scale. And it should never be at the detriment of our morality. It should never be at the detriment of someone's ego that is serving the role of the foot soldier or the bishop, or any analogy that you want to use where there's a hierarchy of people that are doing certain things, maybe an ant colony, whatever it is. The importance of realizing the major questions that are actually required, that are going to be required to be answered in order for a larger change. Not necessarily a true change, because change is really just, or impact, right? There's quality of impact. There's quality, and then there's size of impact. I am merely talking about size currently, because quality is going to get a little complicated. But the size of impact, the scale at which we are able to approach things, really depends on questions that most people don't spend the time to think about, because they're highly logical and not very emotional. And the reality is that they're very, very important, because throughout history, throughout human history, there have been very few people, mainly leaders, that have concentrated on the concepts of scale at the detriment of potentially their emotional well-being, at the detriment of potentially their belief of themselves being a part of the human specimen, the world of their peers, perhaps those that they're leading. I say all this to say to you, if you want to do something large in life, the emotionality of it matters, because it'll keep you going. But the important thing to remember is that the right questions need to be posed in order to efficiently allow people to have access to your ideologies. A lot of the reason why I got into social media, a lot of the reason why a lot of famous people get into social media or marketing in general, is to help spread their message, help accumulate the attention required so that the right people get what they're saying. But scale, I think, eludes a lot of society. In our private lives, in our work lives, we don't ever really think about, what is wealth? Where do I want to get in my life? And at what scale do I have to tackle this to get there? What questions are going to be relevant at this scale that won't be relevant at this scale or at this scale, right? When you go and watch some seminars, and when you go and have a chance to really dig through some of the minds of these people through either seminars that they give or speeches or TED Talks or even getting to talk to them in person, you'll realize there's a lot of different questions that they're posing, because they have to think in a very different way than the people that are functioning at a level that doesn't affect as many people. I guess what I'm trying to say, which may or may not have come across, is it's very important to start thinking about things where we are and where we want to be. This life is only going to permit us as much prowess, as much movement as we're willing to move ourselves, our mindsets, our brains, our logic, potentially our emotionality. right? Like, how many people do we want to affect? How many people do we care about? And how much do we really care about doing that thing? How long are our lives? You know, what is the rate at which we must move in order to get to a scale that makes sense for our mission? Food for thought. I probably didn't give you as much as I could have. I will think about this concept of scale more. It's something that's always enticed me, being a strategist. And I'm beginning to realize how much it plays into the philosophies of individuals as well. Whether or not we look at scale consistently, and whether or not we're applying the concept, the wisdom potentially of it, like nature, right? Like the planet, solar system, humanity, right? Like what are our main philosophies kind of based? What scale are our philosophies based on? Food for thought. If you made it to this point in the video, smash that like button. It helps me a lot. Love that I just have this random the pellet gun hanging in the background here. But check out this video if you have a second. This is talking more about I'm not entirely sure. Check it out. Actualize your potential, my friend. This world needs you. Take care.